Hello everyone, welcome to another Narc Survivor live video. In this one we're going to be speaking about how your absence haunts the narcissist. And this isn't just another one of those videos to make people feel better. This is the actual truth, and I am going to be referring to actual facts and statistics, because the reality is that yes, your absence does haunt the narcissist. And I know that may be quite surprising to hear, because it's like they're just these lifeless zombies that appear to have no feeling, no emotions, no remorse. It's like the lights are on, but nobody's home. But there is actually things that haunt the narcissist. And you could be fooled into thinking that it's because of something you've done, that you've done something to hurt the narcissist, and that's why they feel shame. That's why they're haunted by you. But actually, their shame and them being haunted, this is all a result of the things that they have done to you. It's a result of their own actions. And that's why they're haunted by you. That's why they feel a lot of shame. And that's the first fact that I'm going to be referring to in this video, is that, as we know, narcissists are shame-based people who are doing everything they can to avoid reflecting on their shame. So this is why they need constant distractions. This is why they've always got to have you there, so that they can deflect their shame onto you. And as I mentioned, their shame comes from how they have behaved towards you, the hurtful things that they have done, such as manipulating you, lying to you, future faking, deceiving you, triangulating you with another person, smearing your name, cheating on you, stealing from you. All of these things just causes them even more shame. And what do they do then? Do they just stop and then heal and then just not repeat those same behaviors again? No. They are stuck in a never-ending cycle. They put you through a cycle of love bombing, devaluation, discard and hoovering. But they're also in a cycle of their own, which never ends. And theirs is a cycle of shame and abuse. They feel shame, so then they abuse you, which causes them to feel even more shame, and then they abuse you even more. And that's essentially how they are haunted by you. That's how they are haunted by the things that they have done to you, because that's what perpetuates their shame. And there's also statistics that support this as well. Clinical studies have shown that bullies are at a 10 to 25 times more risk than their own victims of developing a psychiatric condition, as well as anxiety disorders, depression, alcoholism, substance misuse, relationship problems, problems with work, and many other more issues that they are likely to experience. And so the things that they do to you, it causes them a lot of stress. They absorb your trauma. And just think about that for a moment. If you saw someone hurt, if you saw someone in pain, of course, yes, that would affect you. That would affect you because you have empathy. So you're able to feel what another person feels. Now, it's different with narcissists because if they just saw someone in pain, then it may not affect them that much. What really affects them is that they know that they were the cause of it, and they know that that is wrong. They know that even though they have a mask, that actually makes them a bad person. By doing these things to people, by causing people pain, by causing people distress. And so they're haunted by that. And this is why they use different masks. They use false characters. They have to manipulate people because they're constantly just trying to run from their shame. And the narcissist may have discarded you. And they may have made it out like it was something that you did. But actually, no, they're just running from themselves. They're not running from you. They are running from themselves. And I've used an analogy of this before in past videos, but also this may not always be an analogy. This could actually happen with narcissists as well, where it's like if the narcissist is physically abusive, if they attack you and it leaves a bruise, then see the narcissist for a while. Because every time they have to look at you, every time they have to see your face, and they have to see that bruise there, it just reminds them of what a horrible person they are. It reminds them that they are a liar, a manipulator, an abuser. And they do not want to be reminded of that. That's why they manipulate you, they love bomb you, they future fake. This is why they bring back the false character. This is why they try to trauma bond you. Because they do not want to be reminded by you all of the time that they're a horrible person. So they try to get you to see them the way that they want you to see them, rather than you seeing them as they actually are. And they're very sensitive to how you see them because they're constantly feeding off you as a source of supply. So they're constantly observing your reactions. They're scanning your body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice. To try and perceive how you're perceiving them. To try and read into it so that they can then regulate themselves and feel better about themselves by getting your validation. Because that's what this is all about. It's all your validation that they want. And that's why they rely so heavily on their manipulation. But the problem is, once you're absent, once you're no longer around them, then what do? Because you're no longer available for them to garner supply from you. They can no longer extract that validation. So then, if they don't have any other options for sources of supply, most narcissists will just end up imploding. They will go insane. They will lose their minds because that shame will just eat away at them as a result of all of the bad things that they've done to you and people before you. They won't be able to cope with it. But what typically tends to happen, in order for them to bury the shame and just to run away from themselves, they've got to seek out a new source of supply. Someone who will see them as they want to be seen, rather than who they actually are. And of course, who they actually are, their true identity, is made up not only of the positive aspects that they believe to be true about themselves, but also the bad things that they've done to you and people before you. That's what makes up who they truly are. But they don't want anything to do with that. That is why they are disconnected from themselves and their emotions. It's how they don't feel anything, to where it seems like they just don't care about anything. They don't care about you. They don't care about what you're going through. Because even that shame, even that sense of being haunted, those feelings are only for themselves. They are self-absorbed. They cannot get past themselves because they're shame-based and they're running away from their shame. So that's how they are unable to connect to you. But yeah, this is what they have to do, is they have to seek out a new source of supply and trying to get them to validate them. But even then, that's not going to help. It's not going to help them at all, because they're seeking validation from a different person when really they want that validation from you, because they did these things to you. So they need you to be okay with them. And that's why, as many of you have likely seen, even when they do run off with a new source, what do? They post it up on social media, they go into clubs, they're drinking alcohol, they're using recreational drugs, they're doing anything they can to drown their sorrows, to run from their pain, to run from the truth of who they are. And they're doing that even while they have a new source, because the new source is not enough. Still, what they really want is that validation from you. And that is why, even after they go off with a new source and they go to clubs, they drink alcohol, they use drugs, they engage in escapism, even after they do all of that, what tends to happen is then they hoover you. Then they come back to you. Because what they really want is your validation. And it might sound strange, but this is all, it all has a sexual connection. I mean, of course, as human beings, we are sexual beings. And there is most definitely a sexual component to this. This is why what you may find is that when the narcissist comes back to hoover you, typically what they're desiring is sexual contact. And those of you who may have experienced that, when the narcissist comes back and hoovers you, after being involved with a news source and engaging in all of this escapism, what tends to happen is they want to rekindle the relationship, they want to make up. And you have this make-up sex with a narcissist, and it's like they're more passionate. It feels like they're more intimate than they ever were before. Possibly even more than they were in the love bombing phase. Although that does only last for a short period of time, and they're not really being intimate, they can't really connect to you. These feelings are all about themselves. They feel like they're a bad person. They're haunted by your absence. So they're seeking your validation. And what better way to get that than to try and come back and have sex with you? Because that translates to them in their minds that if you're willing to have sex with them, that means that they can't be that bad. Because if they were such a bad person, if what they did to you was not okay, then why would you accept them back in? Why would you give them a chance? Why would you have sex with them? Of course, there are many reasons for that, but this is how the narcissist translates that. Is that if they can get you back, if they can get you to give them another chance, then that means that they're not that bad. And by knowing this, we can also understand how it affects them when you keep that door shut and you don't give them another chance, that is the most damaging thing you can do to a narcissist. It crushes them because they're being haunted by the things that they've done to you, and they're so full of shame, which they're trying to rid themselves of. So then they're coming back trying to seek your validation. And of course, if you don't give it to them, it stays with them. And then that shame just eats them alive. They feel completely worthless and insignificant because, of course, they cannot regulate their own emotions from within. So yeah, that is really a way to get revenge on a narcissist, is to not let them back in when they hoover you. And I know it can be tempting. When the narcissist is coming back to try and rekindle the relationship, when they want to make up, and especially if you've been trauma bonded with a narcissist, you may be craving them, especially sexually. And that is understandable. But I can tell you that even if you let them back in and it returns to the love bombing phase, that will only last for a very short period of time. And then they will return back to normal. And in fact, they will be a lot worse than they were before. Because then they're more comfortable with you. They're accustomed to you, so they feel like they can act however they like. And this is why it's so dangerous to let them back in. Because if you felt like you were trauma bonded to them before, the more that you let them back in, the more that you keep having sex with them, you will become even more trauma bonded. And it will really begin to have a very damaging effect on you. Because this is just how it works. I mean, when it's like on one hand, you feel like you're being loved, but then at the same time, you're also being harmed, it creates this addiction. And it causes you to fawn over the narcissist. It causes you to become very desperate for them, to where you then abandon yourself and you align with them. You're just at the whim of the narcissist. Which is why, of course, I recommend stay in no contact. Do not let the narcissist back in. Because although at the same time, I understand how it works. I understand the chemicals that are released in the body, the adrenaline. When someone is doing these things to you, when they're harming you, when they're betraying you, and especially if you're an empath, and then they're coming back and they want to rekindle things with you, it can really make you addicted to them, especially sexually. It really can. And that is why you do have to be very careful. And that's why I do advise not letting them back in. But also it may be interesting to know that while you may be trauma bonded to them, they are also trauma bonded to you as a result of their shame and as a result of being haunted by the things that they've done to you, to where they have to keep coming back to you to get your validation, to make them feel like they're not that bad, to make them feel like they're not a bad person. Whereas for you as a victim, they've also shifted the blame onto you. They've made you feel like you are the problem. And it can create a sense of worthlessness in the victim as well. So that's why you may want them to come back. That's why you may want to give them another chance. Because then it tells you if you can get them back, then maybe you are worth something after all. But that's wrong, especially when you're dealing with a narcissist. Never let a narcissist define your worth. Someone who is an abuser, someone who thinks that it's okay to harm people. It doesn't matter what someone like that thinks about you. They're horrible people. They're criminals. They're abusers. What does it matter what someone like that thinks about you? You shouldn't be concerned about that at all. But of course, I understand it, because when they're wearing this mask and they're giving you this false character, it makes you think that maybe that was real. And if you can just get that false character to come back, and here's what you got to know about that. Because this false character is just something that they use to manipulate you. They mirrored you. They reflected back to you your own qualities and virtues, your own likes and interests. So it wasn't really them that you wanted or liked. You fell in love with a reflection of yourself. That's all that was. Because other than that, there's nobody there. It wasn't even real. It was manipulation. It was an illusion. It was a mirage. But they've trained you to seek that from them, as though they're the only ones who can give that to you. When actually what you need to do is just return to yourself. Get to know yourself again. The two most important relationships we'll ever have in our lives are with ourselves and with God. And you are doing the right thing when you return to yourself and you improve this relationship with yourself. And the narcissist is aware of that as well. Because energetically they can sense it when you're detaching from them and you're returning back to yourself. Instead of trying to seek their validation. And then they feel you slipping away. Then they know you're not going to need them anymore because you've got you. And of course, you're a better version of you than they're ever going to be of you. And they know that. Which is why as soon as they sense you slipping away, then that's when they come back with a hoover to try and pull you back in, because they need that validation. They need you to make them feel like they're okay, like they're not such a bad person after all of the bad things that they've done to you. And you're really the only one who can give them that. Never mind about their news sources or all of their enablers and flying monkeys. Only you can give them that validation. And it's very different from how the trauma bond is with you than how it is for them. You can turn back to yourself to give yourself that validation. They can't do that because they weren't being real. They weren't being genuine. They were manipulating you. They gave you a false character. So they can only get that validation from you. They can't even validate themselves. And that's why it's really just torture when you do not give the narcissist another chance. That's not to say that, of course, many of the narcissists who are not even self-aware, they're disconnected from themselves and their emotions, they may not be completely aware of what is happening. Yes, they may be haunted by the things they've done to you. They may feel a lot of shame. They may be seeking your validation, but they may not realize that they need it. They may not be consciously thinking about that. And also because they have so much pride and ego, they don't want to put themselves in a situation where they may be rejected or humiliated. So they may just forget about you and move on. And initially, it may appear as though they're fine, as though they're doing better without you. But just give it some time. Give it a few months, maybe a few years. Watch as they begin to age. Watch as they begin to get older. And they may get into a long-term relationship. They may get married and have children. But they're still thinking about you. They're still thinking about the good times they had with you. When you made them feel like they're a good person. When you validated them. And this is typically what happens when we look at narcissists later in life. When they get into marriages, when they have children, they're always thinking about that one person in the past who got away. That person who they treated horribly, who they mistreated, who they misused. Yes, they're thinking about that person who wasn't even that bad. And in fact, that person who did everything they possibly could to try to make the narcissist happy. Yes, these narcissists are thinking about you. Maybe not straight away, but in time. Once they've gone out into the world and they've seen what most other people are like, because most people are not empaths, only 1 to 2% of the world's population are. So the odds of them finding another empath are extremely rare. And even if in the rare case they did, no two empaths are the same. And they were accustomed to your supply, which they're not going to be able to replicate anywhere else. And also they did those things to you. So that's where their shame is coming from. That's what haunts them. They need your validation. They can't just settle for someone else's. It's not going to work that way. And so what happens is they carry the shame as a result of all of the things they did to you that they were never held accountable for. They carry that shame with them. It continues to haunt them for the rest of their lives. And as mentioned in clinical research, clinical studies, it does affect them in many different ways, to where they may develop anxiety disorders, depression. They will have problems in their relationships, in their marriage, with their job. It affects every aspect of their life. And this is their karma. Clinical studies have proven this. And it's based in psychology. It really does affect them. It really does haunt them. And they will never forget about you. You will always be playing on their mind, because you are their reference point. They compare everything about themselves and their lives to you. They compare themselves to how you're doing, how things are going for you in your life. And of course, they're constantly haunted by the things they did to you. And they never got that validation. Because of course, they're not with you now. So they feel inherently bad. They feel like they're not good people. And this is just how it goes for them. They will forever be haunted by their shame, by the things that they did to you. And I know there's people there on YouTube and TikTok where people say this, the narcissist will never move on. And they never actually give you the facts or the statistics, the research. And maybe it's just a video to try and make victims feel better. But that's not what this is. I'm not about just making people feel better for no reason. I'd rather give you the cold, hard facts. And this is it. This is the actual truth. yes, they won't ever move on from you. Yes, they will be haunted by your absence. That's how it actually goes. That's how it actually is. And you can see a lot of evidence of this. If you look at narcissistic influencers on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, and you look at them and it's like, why are they such attention whores? Why are they always seeking validation from random people for no apparent reason? Why do they do the crazy things that they do? And it's all because at one point they had a good person in their life. They had someone who was there for them, someone who they used, someone who they mistreated, someone who would have done anything for them. And after a certain amount of time, that person got fed up. That person stopped trying. That person left them, or maybe the narcissist discarded them, and then that person didn't come back. And now these narcissists are haunted by that victim's absence. Now that person typically tends to be an empath. Nobody ever forgets an empath. And I'm sure many of you, if you think about the most memorable people in your life, they're likely to be empathic people. Empathic people always leave an impact on everyone. I mean, yes, there's narcissists everywhere, and they're always attention seeking. Why? Because normally they can't get attention. That's why they have to do such extreme, outlandish things, because otherwise you would never notice them, you would quickly forget about them. And typically people do anyway, because if you see these narcissists on TikTok, some of the things that they do, people forget about them very easily and quickly. They just get their 5 minutes of fame and then that's it. But with empaths, nobody ever forgets them. Nobody ever forgets a good, kind, genuine person. Because that's rare in the world today. Narcissists are extremely common. 1 in 6 people are narcissists. And Dr. Brahmani says that potentially over 50% of the population may be narcissistic. So you can find narcissists everywhere. Every narcissist thinks that they're extremely rare, extremely special, extremely unique. But actually, you could probably find another narcissist who is practically exactly the same, just around the corner. And of course, this is why, or how rather, I've managed to achieve over 50 million views on this YouTube channel. Because no matter where you are in the world, all of these narcissists are pretty much the same. They all have the same traits and behaviors, and that's how you can watch pretty much any one of my videos. And it's like I'm talking about your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, whoever it may be. Because no matter where you go in the world, they're all exactly the same. They're all the same. So it's not just that they're all the same in one country, but no matter where you go, they're all the same. While empaths tend to be uniquely different. And empaths are very rare, which is why when people find one, they don't forget about them. But that's the thing, because when an empath is doing good for you, when they're helping you, you gotta make sure that you reciprocate something back to them of equal value. Because otherwise, you are going to feel like you're a bad person. You are going to feel like you could have done more. Because that's just how it is. That's just how people are wired. And narcissists are no different. In fact, it's even worse for them, for narcissistic people. Because when they meet a kind and generous empath, what do? They abuse us, they mistreat us, they misuse us. And for that reason, they will be haunted by their actions, and the shame will continue to grow within them. And they follow this shame abuse cycle. So they're going to be feeling shame wherever they are, and they're going to be abusing all of the people around them. And it's because what they really want is your validation. They want you to make them feel like they're okay, like they're not such a bad person. But they can't get that anymore with your absence. So they have to rely on all of their sources of supply. Maybe their smear campaigns and their enablers and flying monkeys as well. But even that isn't enough for them, and many of them do become alcoholics, drug addicts, and they also engage in excessive shopping and gambling. Because no matter what they do, they just can't resolve that pain. So that's my description on how the narcissist is haunted by your absence. Yes, believe it or not, this isn't just a clickbait title for people to self-soothe without any real information. The facts are that they are actually haunted by your absence. I'm just looking at the live chat here. Let me know if you have any questions. I will read them out and respond to them. But I'd also love to hear about your stories as well. Let me know down in the comment section any experiences you've had where you could see that the narcissist, even though they had moved on, they were still haunted by your absence and by not having your validation. But as I said, we do not need their validation, because the entire time we had good intentions. We weren't deliberately trying to harm them, while they may have gaslit us and shifted the blame onto us, which left us very confused while they were pulling the strings on us. So what we really need is our validation. We just need to go within, and then we will feel a lot better. We just need to spend more time with ourselves. And I'm sure many of you empaths will notice that as well. It's like when you're out all day and it's like you give all of your energy away to everyone. And it's like all you really need to do is just go back home by yourself. Spend some time alone. Maybe just watch a movie on your own, or have a candlelit bath. Have some sleep, and then you're back to normal. Then you've got tons of energy, you're feeling good again. Not like that for the narcissist though. Marin asks, why do they deliberately come in front of me? Can you expand on that further, please? I'm not sure what you mean. I see we got 130 thumbs ups, rather 130 live viewers. If you're finding this video helpful so far, please give it a thumbs up down below. Thank you. Okay, Marin asks, why do they deliberately come in front of me? He wants to show his face to me. Well, as Sam Vaknin has mentioned in his videos, one of the main characteristic traits of a narcissist is that they want to be seen. They want to be heard because they have no real identity. There's nothing inside of them. They're a bottomless pit, a black hole, a void. So they have to fill themselves up so that they can feel real. And they have this false character, but of course it's fake, so it needs people to validate it, people to see it with their eyes and hear their voice or whatever it may be through their ears. Because then the way that they think is that if you're seeing it, if you're giving it recognition, if you're accepting it as valid and true, then that must mean that it's real. That must mean that it does exist. So that's why they always want to show themselves to you. And this could be when they're love bombing, or also when they're bullying and intimidating you, because that's just another side to their false character, where they want to feel powerful. But either way, they've got to get that from you, from a separate person, because it isn't real. If it was real, they could just validate that on their own. They wouldn't need anyone there to be constantly giving them validation and recognition. So what is actually there? The reality is that it is just a black hole. It's all just childhood programming. Other than that, there's nothing, there's no authenticity. Any other questions? Let me know. I will read them out and respond to them. Life is like a box of chocolates. Leaving my narcissist, I seriously cannot take it anymore. Not sure how I made it through 7 years, but trust me, he didn't fall short of any of the abuse. I'm so tired and empty inside. You will feel tired and empty inside because, like I said, they're just a black hole. They're a void that can never be filled. So no matter how much you pour into them, it's never like their cup is full and now they can pour into you. They're never full. They've always got a leak at the bottom. So whatever you pour into them, it leaks out. And this is why they're like energy vampires, they're parasites, they're leeches, the bottom feeders. They drain you of your life and energy. And then you're quite literally left feeling drained. You're left feeling like an empty shell, a lifeless zombie, because they've sucked the life out of you. So that's normal, and that's just what we have to go through as victims of narcissistic abuse from dealing with these people. But just know that you can get it back. that life and energy will return to you. It will return back to you physically, mentally, and emotionally. You just have to give it time, and you have to take the steps to heal. But it's never going to be like that for them. They will always have to parasitically attach to people and feed off them. All this talk about chocolates in the live chat. I could do with some chocolates now. I do like eating chocolates in the evening. I gotta say though, nothing beats British chocolate. They do have some really great chocolate in the UK, with the high cocoa content and not too much sugar. Logical Realistic says, I have to face a covert narcissist. My boss's 35-year-old son. I need the job. Each workday is traumatizing. It's horrible. I mean, I've heard from a few people of how they're dealing with a narcissist at work. That can be very difficult. Ideally, the best thing to do is to find another job, especially if it's connected to your boss. Especially since you're dealing with that every day. So ideally, that would be the best thing to do, is to find another job. But then again, you might find other narcissists at the next job as well. It's gotten to the point in this world where narcissists are quite literally everywhere. I think the best thing to do these days is to have a side hustle and eventually turn that into your main job, where you're working for yourself, you're self-employed. A lot of bosses these days, they just can't be depended on. A lot of them are very selfish, and they just exploit the employees. Servant of Jesus Christ says, can a young man be a narcissist at 25? Definitely a 25-year-old can be a narcissist. From my research, our personalities are fixed as young as just 18 years old. So you can have a narcissist, a diagnosed narcissist, who's just 18. Of course, before that age, our personalities are still flexible. So someone who may seem like a narcissist when they're under 18, that could gradually shift with age. However, when we're talking about psychopaths, that's a bit different. And I'm not a licensed therapist, but based on my research and experience, of course, when you see some of these children who are murderers, or they've done really horrific things, as they age, they do typically end up being diagnosed as psychopaths. but shouldn't be much surprise as well. But with just your standard narcissist, that's not going to be diagnosed until at least 18, because the personality can change before that age. Fuzzy One says, Cadbury's, nuts and fruit, yummy. Yes, I do miss Cadbury's chocolate. Of course, there is Cadbury's chocolate here as well, where I am now in Indonesia. But they don't have the vegan Cadbury's chocolate, which I used to get in the UK. So I am looking forward to that when I do go back to the UK. I can finally have some vegan chocolate again. Another thing I'm looking forward to is vegan Domino's pizza, Papa John's. It can be difficult as a vegan to get the things that you really like. But we're really good in the UK because we have so many vegan options at all of the restaurants. Domino's, Subway, McDonald's, Burger King. I gotta say, I do miss all of that. But yeah, I will be heading back to the UK at some point. Most likely within the next couple of months. It's been about 2.5 years since I've been back. And I'm gonna get Nala back with me as well. So then it's gonna be like old times. Just like my live videos 4 years ago. That's when I first started doing the lives. When I'm like walking around on the beaches, on top of the cliffs, in the forest, the waterfalls. It's gonna be like old times again. Classic Narc Survivor. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting back to that again. And hopefully bringing some new types of content to you as well. I think that's really what this channel needs, is some new refreshing content. Because things have been quite the same for a while. So I'm gonna start talking about avoidant personality disorder and maybe some other disorders as well. Some of you may find that you have an avoidant attachment style after dealing with narcissists. I know I feel like that myself. But then you may also have dealt with avoidance as well. So yeah, I will be doing some content on that soon. And you know, I'm just looking forward to it. To just going back home with Nala and like old times, studying this information, bringing you this content, So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to look forward to on this channel. And I think the content is going to improve a lot, especially in 2025. There is a lot more to come on here. This is just the beginning. But yeah, that's the message for today. Your absence haunts the narcissist. Give it a thumbs up if you found it helpful. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Hit subscribe and click all notifications to be notified when I go live in the future. Donations are greatly appreciated, no matter how small. You can donate to my PayPal. It is paypal.me/Narc Survivor. If you would like to book a one-on-one coaching session with me, I am available for you. You can book on my website. It is narcsurvivor.co.uk. Also, follow me on Instagram. It is Narc Survivor YouTube. I've been posting some videos and quotes on narcissistic abuse on there, so you can see all of that there. Thank you all for joining me on another Narc Survivor live video. And I look forward to speaking with you in another live video very soon.